Stars fans already have a taste for what Logan Stankoven brings to the Dallas Stars. Now the question remains, can Stanky put together a full season and win the Calder Trophy? We discuss next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome back from Labor Day weekend and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars. Today's burning question: can Logan Stankoven win the Calder Trophy? The easy answer is yes, of course he can win it. But we're going to take a look at his chances because he has some pretty good competition. Also, it's a make or break season for Nils Lundkvist. What does this year look like for Nils? And is there a future in Dallas? We're going to take a look at some of the deep pairing options as well a bit later on today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The NFL season is right around the corner, which means hockey season is right around the corner as well. We're actually going to get some help from FanDuel for this Calder Trophy discussion with Logan Stankoven. They have the odds out for the NHL Calder Trophy 24-25 season, and Logan Stankoven finds himself right in the smack dab middle of the odds to win the Calder Trophy. There are some really interesting candidates for this season, and they're headlined by, of course, Macklin Celebrini, who's the number one pick in this year's draft, this past draft by the San Jose Sharks. And then you have Matvei Michkov for the Philadelphia Flyers, the 19-year-old Russian. He actually leads the way, a plus 350 odds to win the NHL Calder Trophy. Celebrini's right behind him with Stankoven at plus 400. Cutter Gauthier plus 500, along with Will Smith, another San Jose Shark. You have Lane Hudson plus 700, and then Dustin Wolf at plus 1,500. The interesting thing here is Logan Stankoven has already played a small sample size in the NHL. And he played 24 games during the regular season, which allows him to still classify as a rookie. This also got me thinking historical and thinking how many Dallas Stars have won the Calder Trophy. And I immediately went to Mike Modano because I was under the impression that Mikey Mo has pretty much done everything in this game, and I thought for sure he won a Calder Trophy with the Minnesota North Stars back in the day. But boy, was I mistaken. And this is a really, really interesting year as well. So Mike Modano made his rookie campaign in 1989-90, and he was a finalist for the Calder Trophy at 19 years of age, but he did not win. He did not win. He got edged out by Sergei Makarov, who was 31 years old at the time. He played for Calgary, and he finished in first and won the Calder Trophy at 86 points that season, 24 goals and 62 assists. Modano was right behind him. He got 120 votes. He had 29 goals and 46 assists, which was a total of 75 points, but he finished second to the Russian Makarov at 31 years of age. Can you believe it? A 31-year-old won the Calder Trophy. And I know a lot of Stars fans have gripes about Kaprizov winning the Calder Trophy as well against Robertson. And Kaprizov came over. He was a bit older of a rookie, but Makarov was 31 years of age. I don't know if you can classify as a rookie just at 31, but I was mistaken. I just was under the impression that he certainly won the Calder Trophy, but that was not the case. But the two Minnesota North Stars that did win the Calder Trophy, Danny Grant won it back in 1968. He also won a Stanley Cup, but that was with Montreal, actually the previous season before winning the Calder Trophy. He won it for Montreal. He played 22 games, actually 23 games with the Canadiens, but his rookie year was 68-69 with the North Stars. He had 34 goals, 31 assists, in 75 games and won the Calder Trophy. The other was Bobby Smith, and that was the last player in franchise history to win the Calder Trophy. He put up some really good numbers with the Minnesota North Stars in 78-79, 30 goals, 44 assists, that's 74 points in 80 games, and he won the Calder Trophy that year. He, of course, also won a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens. So there you go. Some interesting notes there. I just kind of wanted to dive into the franchise history as well, because like I said, I was under the impression Mike Modano certainly won a Calder Trophy, but that's not the case. So he fell short to Makarov. Anyways, that was a bit of a tangent there, but wanted to provide some historical context. So Stankoven really has a great chance. And we saw Wyatt Johnston get edged out a few years ago as well. Matty Beniers had a really, really good rookie campaign. But let's talk about Logan Stankoven. And this is a FanDuel.com article as well. And it says, right this moment, Logan Stankoven might be the best player on by far the best team of any player in this mix. That could count for something. Stankoven might have strategically been left in the mix for this year's Calder by only playing 24 games last year. He had 14 points, and that's even more impressive when noting the 21-year-old was working on Dallas's third forward line. He'll definitely bump up into the top six in the wake of Joe Pavelski's retirement, and it's not like he has shied away from the opportunity. So it will be interesting because Stankoven is going to get enough minutes as well to have enough production offensively to put him in the mix of the Calder Trophy. You got to put up enough points. It really is an offensive award. They probably should give a Calder defensive award too. And I know that's not necessarily the case. Many defensemen have won the Calder Trophy, but let's put last year's Calder Trophy into context. No matter what Brock Faber did, it was going to be really, really hard to give him the award over Bedard. And that's with Bedard missing a good chunk of time. But Bedard was a phenom. He was going to win it from the outset, barring a absolute collapse of a rookie season. And he had a very, very good season. So Stankoven will warrant enough minutes. And I think he could get some top line minutes if they put him with Roope Hintz and Jason Robertson. That's a trio I think would be a nice top line for Dallas. But if not, he's probably playing with Maverick Bourque and Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn, who he already has rapport with from last season, playing along with Johnston, and Maverick Bourque, who they just completely lit up the AHL together. I paused for dramatic effect there. Maverick Bourque, who won the MVP in the AHL, and then Stankoven, of course, who put together quite a year down there as well and got called up. So I think he'll be in the finalist conversation for sure. I feel like that's almost a given. And it says here, Stankoven could have similar numbers to Michkov and Celebrini, but get shine on a team that just was the Western Conference's top seed and was 2 wins from the Stanley Cup final. So that will play a factor as well. And I think if you throw it back to the Matty Beniers Calder season, he's on that Seattle team that overachieved and he had a big year. He had a really, really, really solid season. And that helped him out, certainly. If Stankoven can be like a big contributing factor to the Stars this season, which I think he will be, he's going to put up somewhere to, I think 50 to 65 points is where I kind of see him. And he's going to be on a team that we think is going to be at least a contender and not sneak their way into the playoffs. He has a fantastic chance to win the Calder, and I think he's going to win it as well. I have a feeling this is the year that the Stars have a rookie that gets it done. He already has a taste for the NHL We've already seen what he can provide. And for what he doesn't provide in offense, he does so many other things so well. And I know that's not always going to be taken into consideration when it comes to voting for these types of awards, but I think he's going to play a ton of minutes, which is to be expected, and he can produce a ton. He can produce a ton. So I think you're going to get a big year from Stankoven. It says if he's on the top line and power play unit, those two, of course, have posted at least 65 points in each of the last 3 seasons. That's Robertson, Hintz. They've at least posted 65 points in each of the past 3 seasons, being on the top line and power play unit. And Stankoven will have the opportunity to at least be in the top 6. I don't think he's going to get unit number 1 looks or minutes on the power play. I feel like Johnston's going to kind of move in there and work in a bit more, but we can see. I think he'll be a key piece on the second power play unit, but you're probably going to get Miro, Robertson. Ben could still be on that first unit. That's something that they used a lot last year. He'll probably be there again. And then you're looking at Johnston and probably Rope as your 5 out there. So Stankoven may not get top power play units, but who knows if the Stars struggle to begin the year like they struggled at the end of last season, including the postseason, and you could see him getting some more minutes. So Stankoven via FanDuel is plus 400 right now. His odds to win the Calder. Celebrini is right there, and then Michkov at plus 350. But I think it'll be a fascinating race as well. Will Smith and Cutter Gauthier, those 2 players are nothing to scoff at as well. So there could be some dark horses in there. Askarov, of course, who just got traded to San Jose. Jesper Wallstad, he'll probably not get enough games in, I would think, for Minnesota to really be a factor. But those are your 2024-25 Calder Trophy odds for next season. And hopefully Logan Stankoven will be a part of the conversation, and we may be busting the door down a month into the season if Stankoven gets off to a hot start. And I think the offense is going to elevate a bit too. He declined in the postseason, but look, we're talking about 30 games in the National Hockey League. He's just getting his feet wet. He's a greenhorn in the grand scheme of things. It could be a slow increase offensively for Stankoven into next season. And he's already got chemistry, which will be working in his favor and the Dallas Stars' favor. So can't wait to see what takes place for Stankoven. But hell yeah, he can win the Calder Trophy. And I want him to win it. He'll be the first actual Dallas Star. I know we got franchise history and all that stuff, but like Dallas Star to win the Calder Trophy, it's about time we get one. So the Stank Man, the Stanky, is going to get it done. Alrighty. Speaking of another young player, he's been a topic of conversation over the past few years. Yes, Nils Lundkvist. We're talking about him again because Mike Heika has been putting out his player profiles, and he put out something that I feel like I can't gloss over. I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel here on Locked On Stars. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Well, they have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Yes, YouTube TV and NFL Sunday Ticket. The NFL season is right around the corner. Get in on the action with FanDuel and go ahead and use this deal right now, because with a YouTube TV-based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. The Dallas Cowboys are all in this season, okay? And they're ready to ride. So go ahead and get NFL Sunday Ticket with the help of FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, Stars fans, thank you so much for all the love and support recently. Be sure to make Locked On NHL your second listen of the day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Locked On NHL gives you a perspective on all things NHL each and every day, national experts, along with local insights on every team in the league. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All righty. Nils Lundkvist. Who knows how many segments we're going to have about Nils Lundkvist in the next 2 months or so. Mike Heika has been publishing his player profiles, which are fantastic, by the way. You can find them on DallasStars.com. Definitely go there. So Nils has been an interesting player, of course, over the past few seasons. Stars give up a first-round pick for him. They're still hanging on for dear life to make it work. But last season, I think, was the epitome of just maybe not the front office sending a message that he's not going to work here, but more the coaching staff saying, all righty, like he's not good enough. And he's not going to fit in to a rotation. He's going to be a healthy scratch more often than not. And we just, frankly, don't trust them. But Heika put his expectations for 24-25. And it got me thinking because he went through potential pairings. And he said, while Dallas lost 3 defensemen, Tanev, Suter, and Hakanpää, of course, they added Dumba, Lyubushkin, and Smith. So now it's more crowded. Plus, you can't forget about Liam Bichsel, who we already know the coaching staff, and I believe it was game 5 of the Western Conference Final, or it was game 6, heading into game 6, when Tanev had gotten hurt in that game 5. We didn't know if he was going to be able to go. And the coaching staff told Bichsel, at least Bichsel told us, the media, not really media, but he told the media that he would need to be ready to play in case Tanev couldn't go. I think the writing was pretty much on the wall there that Bichsel, who played the majority of the season over in Europe, like across the pond, and he came back over, he finished up the year with Texas, had not set foot in the NHL as of yet. And they were going to put him in game 6 of an elimination game in the Western Conference Final. I may have got the games mixed up, but either way, you understand the point. How much more do you need to know? And of course, Lundkvist was not given a qualifying offer, but they bring him back. He's on a 1-year deal at 1.25. He did have a nice season last year. Okay, 19 points was a career high. He improved in a lot of areas. In his own zone specifically, I thought he was stronger. He made much more decisive plays. He made better first passes. But in the postseason, he was a step behind constantly. And the Stars were trying to shield him for eventually Petrovic, who had to come in and step in. But they say he could possibly play with Miro, which I don't necessarily see that. But Mike went in and said, well, the team has 3 right-hand defensemen, Lundkvist among them, and they could move Miro to the left side if they want to try that. If they do, Lundkvist could be a lineup regular and might even get a chance to play on a pairing with Heiskanen every now and then. I don't see that. But of course, Heiskanen could be on the right side along with Harley, and then Dumba and Lyubushkin can be on the right side on the second and third pairings. So that could leave Lundkvist kind of out of the mix. And he also did a profile on Lyubushkin, and this is something that this was the statement that I think tells a lot. He says, the other option, since the Stars have 3 righties on defense, to move Dumba up to the top pairing, which would allow Lyubushkin to play on the second pairing with Esa Lindell, which is really, really interesting. But he also says the guess is Lyubushkin will be on the third pairing with Smith, Lundkvist, or Bichsel. So the room is just really crowded on the back end, and I don't see where Lundkvist fits in at all. And that was this is the sentence. The guess is Lyubushkin will be on the third pairing. And Mike is involved, obviously. I think he has a pretty good idea of what's going on. So if Lyubushkin's on your third pairing, then you think you would think it's going to be Harley and Lindell on your second pairing, and then maybe Dumba will play alongside Miro, or maybe they keep Miro and Harley together. They could also put Dumba and Lindell, even though one of them would be on their offside. Really, really, really fascinating stuff here. Because if Lyubushkin is going to be on the third pair, where does Lundkvist fit in as a right shot? And Smith is a veteran who doesn't necessarily give you a ton, but we all know what the coaching staff has already done. Pete DeBoer, they don't care. The veteran is probably going to get the benefit of the doubt. So I think we're in for another year of this rotation where Lundkvist plays like a couple of games and then he's just healthy scratch most nights. And we're going to ask about Lundkvist and what's going on because he'll show some flashes. But I don't see where he fits in with Lyubushkin and Smith possibly being two of your options as the sixth defenseman. And this is not even talking about Bixel, which I think Bixel at this point, from what the staff is telling me, from what they've kind of told us, they didn't tell us, but by their actions from last postseason, like they feel Bixel's pretty good. Like at least kind of just can kind of be thrown into a Western Conference final game. I mean, no biggie, just throw him in. Like this pushes Nils back to like being your seventh defenseman, more like eighth. So I don't understand the re-signing of Nils, but I'll say, obviously Nils wanted to come back for a reason. So it's not necessarily the Stars doing it. Nils wanted to come back because, I mean, you would have think he had his opportunity to go somewhere else. Maybe there wasn't a lot of teams calling, and that could certainly be the case. Maybe there wasn't a huge market out there for him, but if Lyubushkin's going to be on your third pairing, you're not playing Lundkvist over him. And all of a sudden, you're going to elevate Lundkvist on the top pairing with Miro, possibly. I don't see that either, unless you want Miro to sort of help him out. He can protect Nils a bit better. But then you're just taking, I think you're taking your best asset out of your hand by having Lundkvist with Miro. So I thought that was pretty telling from these player profiles a bit. And two, I'm so over the roller coaster of the conversation with Nils. I mean, we talked about it towards the end, I think in March, I just think his time's kind of done here. And I think many people did in the offseason, and he's coming back. And look, I think he's a decent player, but he needs to improve, and he could certainly elevate his play if he improves in another offseason like he did last year. Maybe it's going to take a bit longer for Nils to reach his peak, right, or reach his ceiling. And I don't think the Stars have seen it yet. But I can also acknowledge that there needs to be a bit longer of a leash for him. I think he needs to play a bit more in order to develop and garner the minutes he needs to be a productive player in the NHL. But man, this room is kind of stacked on the back end in a lot of ways, and I don't necessarily see the fit, especially if Lyubushkin's going to be on your third pairing. So we'll see. And this kind of segues into the next conversation, and we'll take a short break here, and then on the other side, I'm going to get into some of the more deep pairing options, because these player profiles and what Mike was talking about kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, okay, maybe they're not thinking what I previously proposed. So we'll do that in just a moment. Alrighty, so I've sort of proposed my lineup for the Dallas Stars on opening night a few times. And on the back end, specifically with the D pairs, I would think Miro, Lyubushkin, Harley Lindell, and then you have Nils and Dumba on the back end as well. Yeah, Miro and Lyubushkin. Oh, excuse me, Lindell, Dumba, or Lindell, Harley, and then Dumba could be on your third pair. There's a thousand different combinations, but play along with me here, because with Mike saying Lyubushkin would be on the third pairing, then if that's the case, I think Miro and Harley are certainly playing together. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's because I don't want to see it, but I don't see it. Dumba playing with Miro, but it would make sense. However, if you have a pairing that is so good and explosive like Miro and Harley, I feel like you put them together, and then you have pretty good depth on the back end, because as I've said throughout the summer too, the best case scenario is Bixel's ready to play like in November or December. And if Lyubushkin's on your third pairing, Bixel and Lyubushkin could be like a really nice pairing for the Stars. And now you're feeling a bit better about the Dallas Stars back end. I still have a lot of concerns and reservations about this group. I don't know what we're going to get. And it doesn't feel like an improvement from the beginning of last year, but possibly it is. I think you're asking a lot out of players like Dumba and Lyubushkin in your top four. But if Lyubushkin's on your third pair, I think Miro and Harley makes a ton of sense. And then you can go Lindell and Dumba on that second pairing. And then that's a pair that's a lefty-righty balance. Of course, Miro's still going to play on his off wing, but you get that lefty-righty balance. And Lindell and Dumba could possibly complement each other. And I know Lindell has always thrived with a player that sort of has a more offensive-minded game. Like, look at Klingberg for years. Like, those are some of the best years of Esa Lindell. But we also saw him with Chris Tanev, and Dumba at this point in his career. I'm not comparing him to Chris Tanev, okay? But that's the type of player. He's going to be more of a stay-at-home defenseman that has an edge, that's physical in his own zone. I do worry about the foot speed with Dumba and Lindell as a pairing, but that could be a nice sort of shutdown pairing for the Dallas next season. And then, as I mentioned, if Bixel's ready to go, Bixel and Lyubushkin, now that's a pairing of your fifth and sixth defenseman that you're like, oh, okay, like you a talented guy. Lyubushkin plays bigger than he is. He can penalty kill. He'll be a nice veteran for Bixel to play alongside. And maybe things are starting to look up for the Dallas Stars on the back end. So really, really interesting stuff. And that just sentence of Lyubushkin would be on the third pair, kind of like, well, it's not necessarily what I thought, but I'm probably not thinking like the coaching staff. I can guarantee you that. So if they do keep Miro with Harley or Miro with Dumba, and then Harley drops down with Lindell, then it's Lyubushkin and Nils. You're gonna put him on his off wing, like his offside. It's weak side. It's yeah. We may need another segment to discuss this, to dissect this a bit more as training camp. Maybe this is a training camp when we kind of get an idea of who's playing with who. But yeah, this the Stars defense may make or break this season. So all eyes will be on the D pairs in training camp, because frankly, that's a storyline. That's like, there's some ifs, there's some buts, and that's what makes it exciting. So there we go. We'll close the book on that conversation, and maybe we'll have to revisit it in training camp. Not maybe, we certainly will. It'll probably be something we visit a ton here in the next month or so. Alrighty. Happy Tuesday, Stars fans. Hope you enjoyed your long Labor Day weekend. Spend it with some friends and family. We're back to it. And that'll do it for another episode of Locked On Stars. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a comment below as well. Always appreciate the love and support. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in a couple days. So long, Stars fans.